From Albania's Mediterranean shores, we journey south and west across the sea to North Africa's largest country, Algeria. If Albania was where mountains meet water, Algeria is where the Mediterranean meets something far more vast and ancient, the Sahara Desert. Algeria sits in the heart of the Maghreb. That's the Arabic term for North Africa's western region. It's bordered by Tunisia and Libya to the east, Morocco to the west, and then down south it touches Mali, Niger, and Mauritania. Countries most people associate with the Sahara itself. To the north, about 750 miles of Mediterranean coastline. The country is massive, roughly 920,000 square miles, which makes it about 3.5 times the size of Texas, and the largest country in Africa. But here's the thing, more than 80% of Algeria is desert. The Sahara dominates everything. The population is around 47 million people, but most of them, we're talking 90%, live in a narrow strip along the northern coast and in the mountains just inland. The capital is Algiers, a sprawling, chaotic, beautiful city of about 3 million people. Closer to 5 million if you count the whole metropolitan area. Algiers is called Algiers the White because of all the whitewashed buildings that cascade down the hillsides to the Mediterranean. It's a city where minarets and church bells coexist, where French colonial architecture stands next to modern high-rises, where the old Casbah, a UNESCO World Heritage Site, winds through narrow, ancient streets. As for language, Algeria is officially bilingual, Arabic and Tamazight, the language of the Berbers, the indigenous people of North Africa. But in reality, the linguistic situation is more complex. Most Algerians speak Algerian Arabic, which locals call Darja, a dialect that's quite different from modern Standard Arabic. French is everywhere, in schools, government, business, media. Algeria is actually the second largest French-speaking country in the world after France itself, with about 11 million people reading and writing in French. It's a legacy of 132 years of French colonial rule, and it's complicated. Some Algerians embrace French as part of their identity. Others see it as a reminder of colonization. The people of Algeria are predominantly Arab Berber, a blend that reflects centuries of history. About 75 to 85% identify as Arab, while 15 to 20% identify as Berber, also called Amazigh, which means free people. The Berbers are the original inhabitants of North Africa, predating the Arab conquest by thousands of years. Their culture is particularly strong in the mountainous Kabylia region, east of Algiers, and in the Mzab Valley in the Sahara, where a distinct Berber community called the Mozabites has lived for centuries. Religion is a cornerstone of life here. About 99% of Algerians are Sunni Muslim, and Islam infuses daily life. The call to prayer echoes from mosques 5 times a day. Ramadan is observed by nearly everyone, and religious holidays are national celebrations. But Algerian Islam tends to be moderate, influenced by Sufi traditions and local customs. There's a small Christian minority, mostly expatriates, and a tiny Jewish community, though before independence in 1962, Algeria had a significant Jewish population that largely emigrated to France. Family is everything in Algeria. Multi-generational households are common, with grandparents, parents, and children living together or very close by. Respect for elders is absolute. Hospitality is sacred. If you visit someone's home, you're getting tea, coffee, pastries, and probably a full meal, even if you insist you're not hungry. Refusing is almost offensive. This sense of generosity and community runs deep. Let's talk food, because Algerian cuisine is spectacular. The undisputed national dish is couscous, steamed semolina grains served with a rich stew of meat and vegetables. In Algeria, couscous is traditionally made by hand, rolled grain by grain, and it's typically eaten on Fridays after midday prayers or at weddings and celebrations. The meat is usually lamb or chicken, slow-cooked with carrots, zucchini, chickpeas, turnips, and spiced with cumin, coriander, cinnamon. The broth is ladled over the couscous, and it's eaten communally from a large platter. Traditionally, you eat with your right hand, using your thumb and first 2 fingers. Another staple is rekta, a pasta dish with a white sauce, chicken, and chickpeas. There's chorba, a hearty tomato-based soup with lamb, chickpeas, and tiny pasta, often eaten to break the fast during Ramadan. Shakshuka, eggs poached in a spicy tomato and pepper sauce, is a popular breakfast or light meal. Burek are crispy, flaky pastries stuffed with meat, cheese, or vegetables, fried golden and served hot. And merguez, spicy lamb or beef sausages seasoned with harissa, cumin, and paprika, are grilled and served with bread. Bread is life in Algeria. Kesra is a round, rustic flatbread. Kobs dar is the traditional homemade loaf. Matlo is a pan-fried flatbread. Bread is believed to carry baraka, divine blessing, and it's never wasted. If a piece of bread falls on the ground, people will pick it up and place it somewhere elevated, out of respect. Sweets are rich and honey-soaked. Makroud are semolina cookies filled with dates and fried, then dipped in honey. Baklava, layers of phyllo dough, nuts and honey, came via the Ottoman Empire and stuck around. Zaytun are almond cookies, and don't forget the mint tea, sweet strong, poured from a height to create foam, and thick Turkish-style coffee served in tiny cups. Algerians love their cafe culture. Sit at a cafe in any city, and you'll see groups of men, mostly men, though that's slowly changing, sipping coffee, smoking, playing cards or dominoes, debating politics, football, life. It's social glue. Festivals and holidays reflect the mix of Islamic tradition and national pride. Eid al-Fitr marks the end of Ramadan. Families visit each other, kids get new clothes and money, there's feasting. Eid al-Adha, the feast of sacrifice, involves the ritual slaughter of a sheep, with the meat distributed among family, friends, and the poor. Independence Day on July 5th is huge. Parades, concerts, fireworks, speeches. There's also Yenaya, the Berber New Year celebrated on January 12th with traditional foods and music, particularly in Berber regions. Now let's talk about the landscape. Because Algeria's geography is mind-blowing in its scale and variety. The country can be divided into 4 main zones running east to west like horizontal bands. First, the Tell, the coastal region. This is a narrow, fertile strip hugging the Mediterranean, backed by the Tell Atlas Mountains. The climate here is classic Mediterranean, hot, dry summers and mild, rainy winters. The cities are here: Algiers, Oran, Algeria's second city, a port known for its music and art scene, Annaba, Constantine. The coast has beaches, rocky cliffs, vineyards, olive groves, forests of cork oak. It's green and lush compared to the rest of the country. Behind the coast rise the Tell Atlas Mountains, a range of peaks and valleys with elevations reaching over 7,000 feet. The mountains are covered in forests, pine, cedar, oak, and in winter they get snow. The Kabylia region here is famously beautiful, with terraced hillsides, Berber villages perched on ridges, and steep gorges carved by rivers. South of the Tell Atlas is the High Plateau, a vast semi-arid expanse of flat plains and rolling hills, sitting at around 3,000 to 4,000 feet elevation. This is steppe country, dry, windswept with sparse vegetation, salt marshes, and shallow seasonal lakes. It's empty and stark. The climate is more extreme here. Hot summers, cold winters. Then comes the Saharan Atlas, another mountain range running parallel to the Tell Atlas, but higher and more barren. The peaks here reach over 7,600 feet. The highest is Mount Chelia in the Ore Mountains, standing at 7,638 feet. These mountains act as the final barrier before you hit the true Sahara. And then the desert. The Sahara covers about 80% of Algeria, an area so vast it's hard to comprehend. It's not all sand dunes, though there are plenty of those. There are massive sand seas called ergs, the Grand Erg Occidental in the west and the Grand Erg Oriental in the east, where dunes rise 100 feet high and stretch for hundreds of miles. There are rocky plateaus called Hamada, where the ground is hard, flat, and lifeless. There are gravel plains, and in the southeast there are mountains. The Ahaga Mountains, also called the Hogga, rise like an island in the desert, a range of volcanic peaks and jagged rock formations. The highest point in Algeria is here, Mount Tahat at 9,573 feet. The landscape is otherworldly. Black volcanic rock, red sand, deep canyons. It's remote and stunning. Nearby is Tassili Naja, a UNESCO World Heritage Site famous for its prehistoric rock art. Thousands of paintings and carvings depicting animals, people, and scenes from a time when the Sahara was green and full of life, thousands of years ago. Scattered across the desert are oases, places where water comes up from underground, allowing date palms, gardens, and human settlement. Towns like Gardaya in the Mzab Valley, Tamanrasset in the Ahaga, and in Salah in the Central Sahara are lifelines in an otherwise inhospitable landscape. The climate in the Sahara is extreme. Summer temperatures regularly hit 120 degrees Fahrenheit or higher during the day, then drop to near freezing at night. Rainfall is almost non-existent. Some areas go years without rain. When it does rain, it can cause flash floods that carve new channels through the desert. Algeria's history is long, layered, and intense. The earliest known inhabitants were the Berbers, indigenous North Africans who've lived here for thousands of years. The Phoenicians, seafaring traders from what's now Lebanon, established coastal colonies around 1000 BCE. The Romans conquered the region in the 2nd century BCE and called it Numidia. Algeria became one of the wealthiest provinces of the Roman Empire. They built massive cities like Timgad and Jamila, with amphitheaters, baths, forums, all still standing today as ruins. Christianity spread here too. Saint Augustine, one of the most important figures in Christian theology, was born in what's now Algeria in the 4th century. The Vandals invaded in the 5th century, followed by the Byzantines. Then, in the 7th century, the Arabs arrived, bringing Islam. The Berbers converted, and over the following centuries, Arab and Berber cultures blended. Algeria became part of various Islamic empires and dynasties: the Umayyads, the Fatimids, the Almoravids, the Almohads. It was a center of learning and trade. In the 16th century, the Ottoman Empire took control, establishing the Regency of Algiers. The city became a base for corsairs, pirates who raided European ships and coastal towns. Algeria was powerful, wealthy, and feared. But in 1830, France invaded. The pretext was an insult involving the French consul and a fly swatter. Yes, really, but the real motive was colonization. The conquest was brutal. The French waged a scorched earth campaign, destroying villages, displacing populations, confiscating land. By 1848, Algeria was declared an integral part of France, not a colony. European settlers called pieds noirs poured in, taking the best land. By the 1950s, there were about 1 million Europeans in Algeria, most born there, alongside 9 million Algerians who were second-class citizens in their own country. Resistance simmered for decades, but it exploded on November 1, 1954, when the National Liberation Front, the FLN, launched coordinated attacks across Algeria, beginning the Algerian War of Independence. It was an 8-year nightmare of guerrilla warfare, terrorism, torture, and massacres. The FLN fought the French military. The French responded with mass arrests, torture, executions, and the destruction of entire villages. The Battle of Algiers in 1956–57 became infamous. FLN operatives planted bombs in cafes, killing civilians, and the French used systematic torture to break the network. Between 400,000 and 1.5 million Algerians died in the war. By 1962, France was exhausted. President Charles de Gaulle negotiated the Avion Accords, and on July 1, 1962, Algerians voted overwhelmingly for independence. On July 5, 1962, Algeria became free after 132 years of French rule. The pieds noirs fled to France, about 900,000 of them, and many Algerians who had worked with the French, called harkis, were murdered in revenge. Post-independence Algeria was led by Ahmed Ben Bella, but he was overthrown in 1965 by Houari Boumediene, who ruled as a socialist military strongman until 1978. The country nationalized its oil and gas industries, built a welfare state, and positioned itself as a leader of the non-aligned movement during the Cold War. But corruption and mismanagement plagued the economy. In 1991, the Islamic Salvation Front, an Islamist party, won the first round of elections. The military cancelled the second round and banned the party, triggering a brutal civil war that lasted from 1992 to 2002. Between 150,000 and 200,000 people died. Villages were massacred. Journalists, intellectuals, and artists were assassinated by extremists. It was called the Black Decade. The war ended, but the scars remain. Since then, Algeria has been stable but tightly controlled. Abdelaziz Bouteflika was president from 1999 until 2019, when mass protests forced him out after he tried to run for a fifth term. The military still holds enormous power. Here are a couple of fascinating facts about Algeria. First, Timgad. This Roman city, built around 100 CE in what's now eastern Algeria, is one of the best preserved Roman sites in the world. It has a massive triumphal arch, a 3,500-seat theater, perfectly intact columns, and streets laid out in a perfect grid. It's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and absolutely stunning. Second, Rai music. Rai is a genre that originated in Oran in the early 20th century, blending Berber, Arabic, and Spanish influences with modern instruments. It was rebellious, dealing with themes of love, alcohol, and social issues, stuff that was taboo. The Algerian government tried to suppress it. But in the 1980s and 90s, artists like Cheb Khaled made Rai internationally famous. Today, it's a symbol of Algerian youth and resilience. Now, about moving to Algeria. This one's tricky. Most foreign nationals, including Americans, Canadians, Europeans, and Australians, need a visa to enter Algeria. And you have to get it before you arrive. Visas are issued through Algerian embassies and consulates. Only a handful of countries get visa-free access: Tunisia, Libya, Morocco, Malaysia, and a few others. There are different types of visas: tourist, business, work, family, student, medical, cultural, transit. For a tourist visa, you'll need a passport valid for at least 6 months, 2 passport photos, proof of accommodation, hotel reservation, or an invitation from an Algerian host, travel insurance, and a completed application form. The visa is usually valid for 90 days, and the process takes about 10 to 20 business days. For a work visa, you need a job offer from an Algerian employer and authorization from the Algerian Ministry of Labor. Your employer has to sponsor you. You'll need the same documents as a tourist visa, plus your employment contract, a letter from your employer, proof of accommodation, and possibly a police clearance certificate. Work visas are typically issued for 1 or 2 years and allow multiple entries. For students, you'll need proof of enrollment in an Algerian university and either proof of a scholarship or proof that you can support yourself financially. For family visas, you'll need an invitation from your Algerian family member, and the invitation has to be certified by the local town hall in Algeria. Here's the catch: the process can be slow and bureaucratic. Visa approval is not guaranteed, and the Algerian government is cautious about who they let in. French language skills are almost essential if you're planning to work or stay long-term, because while many Algerians speak some English, French is the lingua franca for business and administration. Security is another consideration. Parts of Algeria, particularly border regions with Mali, Niger, and Libya, are dangerous due to terrorism and smuggling. The US State Department has a Level 2 travel advisory for Algeria, urging increased caution. The coastal cities and main tourist areas are generally safe, but you need to be aware. As for cost of living, Algeria is quite affordable compared to Western countries, though it's more expensive than many African nations. In Algiers, a one-bedroom apartment in the city center costs around $300 to $500 per month. Outside the center, you're looking at $200 to $350. Smaller cities like Oran, Constantine, or Annaba are cheaper. A meal at an inexpensive local restaurant costs about $3 to $7. A mid-range three-course meal for two might be $15 to $25. Street food is even cheaper. Sandwiches, shawarma, pizza slices may be $2 to $4. Groceries are affordable if you shop at local markets. Bread costs about 30 cents. A liter of milk is under $1. Fresh produce is cheap and excellent. Public transportation is very affordable. A bus ticket in Algiers is around 40 cents. Taxis are cheap too. A ride across the city might be $3 to $8. Intercity buses cost $5 to $15 depending on distance. Algeria has a well-developed road network, so getting around is relatively easy. Utilities, electricity, water, heating, and gas run about $30 to $50 per month for a small apartment. Internet costs $15 to $30 per month, and the infrastructure is decent in cities. Healthcare is a mix. Public healthcare is free or very cheap, but quality is inconsistent and facilities can be overcrowded. Many expats and middle-class Algerians use private clinics, which are affordable by Western standards. A doctor's visit costs $20 to $50. Private health insurance runs about $30 to $50 per month. All in, a single person could live modestly in Algeria on about $600 to $800 per month, including rent. A couple might need $1,000 to $1,200. If you're living outside Algiers and cooking at home, you could do it for even less. Picture Algeria as the sun sets over the Mediterranean, the white buildings of Algiers glowing gold in the fading light, the call to prayer drifting from 100 mosques. Picture the mountains of Kabylia, green and terraced, where Berber villages cling to hillsides and smoke rises from clay ovens baking bread. Picture the high plateau at dawn, empty and silent, except for the wind, the sky enormous and pale blue. Picture the Sahara at dusk, the sand dunes turning crimson and purple, the air cooling, the stars beginning to appear in impossible numbers. Picture the oases, green islands in an ocean of sand, date palms rustling, water trickling through ancient irrigation channels. Picture the ruins of Timgad, where Roman columns stand in perfect rows, And you can almost hear the echoes of a civilization that thrived here 2,000 years ago. Picture a family gathered around a platter of couscous, eating with their hands, laughing, sharing stories. Picture the resilience of a people who have endured conquest, colonization, war, and heartbreak, and who are still here, still proud, still standing. Let Algeria's vastness, its contrasts, its history, its beauty settle over you like the desert night.
To find an oasis, cool and deep, where secrets sleep. Is it real how I feel? Mirage blue, mirage blue. Is it me or is it you? Mirage blue, mirage blue. Tell me true. See the desert wind, it blows across my face, it goes. Habibi, tell me what it knows. Desert stars are bright, desert stars at night. Desert stars are bright, Habibi. The sand is hot beneath my feet. The sun, it cannot be beat. Ya Ruhi, tell me something sweet. Desert stars are bright, desert stars at night. Desert stars are bright.